Sup nerds, I'm CuppaJoey and welcome back to another episode of r/Am I the Plague Sore. You know that I like to jazz up my censorship a little bit. I think that a-hole is a little bit too boring. So to make it themed for the current climate, I'm gonna go with plague sore. Am I the fart sniff? My husband won't let me sleep. Okay, so I work a 12 to 16 hour shifts at an extremely labour-intensive job that requires the use of heavy machinery. My job is dangerous and I need to stay focused while at work. This part is important. So my husband has a friend who is a truck driver. His friend calls at odd hours every night, usually between 1 AM and 4 AM. My husband always accepts these calls and then proceeds to have a very loud, very long conversations right next to me, which inevitably wakes me up and keeps me awake. I have asked him firmly but politely to either take the calls at a later hour or to leave the room while he talks so that my sleep is not disturbed. He refuses to do this and says that he has to answer the calls to help keep his friends awake while he is on the road. I understand wanting to help a friend, but I do not understand needing to keep me awake while doing it. So for the last week I have been locking myself in the guest bedroom and sleeping on the guest bed when I have a shift scheduled. Now my husband is angry and says that it hurts his feelings that I am no longer sleeping next to him every night. Am I the fart sniff? Absolutely not. This person is not the fart sniff. Why the hell is the husband being so selfish? And not only that, but putting, the welfare of their partner below, the welfare of a friend. This whole, he needs to keep awake while he's driving, the friend's doing that. Okay, there are other ways to keep yourself awake, and if he needs to have conversations, then he could have them elsewhere. The thing is that you should not be on the phone while you're driving anyway. He may say that it helps him keep awake, but it's not. If he cannot keep awake while driving, then that really needs to be looked into, because that is a very big health and safety issue. But not only that, you should not be on the phone when you're driving anyway. I mentioned before that I have issues with people texting while driving. Being on the phone, talking on the phone while driving isn't as bad. However, you are still distracting yourself from keeping your eyes on the road and making sure that you are driving in a safe way, especially if you are driving a truck, which can have absolutely devastating consequences if you crash into something. I mean, of course, if you crash into something on a bike or a car, then yes, that can be devastating, but, it can be so much worse when it's a truck. Not only that, the partner has said that their job is dangerous too. They need to keep awake in order to operate heavy machinery and make sure that they don't have serious injury. So the husband is putting their friend staying awake in a way that they're really not supposed to, above, their partner potentially having serious injury or potentially death. How can you, not value your partner's well-being like that? Also, sleep is important. If you don't sleep well, then that could have, issues with your health. I know I'm a chronic insomniac. It's awful. The fact that he's refusing. Oh yeah, and I read a little bit of the comments. Apparently he's refusing to move to another room simply because he's got knee problems and it hurts his knees to move out of bed. I mean, even with all of that, the OP said that they would go to another room and sleep there, and now the husband is angry? That is absolutely ridiculous. You cannot put your partner's health, well-being, and quality of life at such risk just because you want to talk to a friend. And by the way, I don't buy that whole he needs to keep awake. I don't think that that's the case. I think that he just wants to be able to sit in bed and chat with his friend and doesn't want to, have to change his ways in order to, help his partner, which is absolutely terrible and selfish and abhorrent. The husband can't have it both ways. He can't treat his partner's well-being with such disdain and then expect them to want to sleep next to them. Honestly, at this point, I'd just say throw the whole husband out. Absolutely not the fart sniff in this case. Am I the ding-dong for refusing to share a room with a 1-year-old, twin 2-year-olds, and a 4-year-old? So I, female, 18, was recently invited up to my aunt and uncle's, I'll call them Aunt and Uncle B, ranch house for the 4th of July and told I could bring a friend. Now, this aunt and uncle have a pretty big house. Their ranch house has 4 bedrooms with queen beds, the master bedroom, and the kids' room, which is a massive room with about 6 beds, some bunked, and a loft. They've got a lot of land around the house too, so I was excited to get some time off to goof off and run around with my friends, also female 18. I know that other cousins are going to be there and assume that my Aunt B and Uncle B thought beds through and everything like that. The other people invited up to the house were Aunt G and Uncle G and their son M16, who I'll call F, my Uncle P, and my Aunt and Uncle H. I'm going to call cousin G just, to make it a little bit easier. Aunt and Uncle H are baby cannons. They have 4 kids under the age of 5, none of whom sleep through the night. I've been to their house before, it's horrible. Anyway, my friend and I get up to the house and learn that we are expecting to share the big bunk room with the kids under 5 while their parents get their own room. Uncle P, Cousin G, and Aunt and Uncle G are also in their own rooms. G shared one. I was upset, but wanting to stay up there, I said, okay, my friend and I can sleep on the couch. Cue a massive explosion. The baby cannons are pissed that I don't want to sleep in the same room as their children. Their kids are horrible at night and someone needs to watch them, so it should be me and my friend because I got to invite a friend. I said that if they wanted someone to, Cousin G could, but Cousin G apparently needed his sleep because he's a growing boy and he doesn't know how to take care of kids. None of the other people in the house wanted to get involved. The aunt and uncle who own the house didn't care much and told us to just figure it out, so I ignored the baby cannons and sat up on the couch with my friend. Cue the baby cannon's mother. Throws all of our stuff off the couches and tells me and my friend that we have to sleep with her kids or we can't stay. At this point, I'm mortified by her behaviour because I have a friend. My friend is embarrassed and doesn't know what to do. So I tell them I'm leaving. Cue more screaming. I drove up my father's boat. If I leave, there's nobody with a truck to drive the boat around. The world is ending. I say that either my friend and I are sleeping on the couch without the small children or we're leaving. Well, the baby cannons weren't okay with that, so I packed up my stuff, reattached the trailer for the boat, and left. Now I'm getting texts from relatives that I was rude and could have handled it better, and that the baby cannons need a break from their kids and I'm young so I could be a nice family member and deal with it for them. Am I the butthole here? Straight up, the baby cannons should be absolutely ashamed of themselves for putting the OP and her friend in that situation. Who the hell do they think they are for there to be like a family holiday and then expect free labor? Because that's what this is. If they're expecting like these two people to babysit for like a week or so, then they should be paying babysitter rates. You know, they should be paying full time. To say, oh no, we need a holiday so you have to look after our crappy little kids. Especially when there's like 5 of them and they're all under the age of 5. Those kids are so demanding. I mean, this family is rich enough. If they didn't want the pressure of having that many kids, then they shouldn't have had that many kids in the first place. It's not like they don't have the means to buy a babysitter, or rather pay a babysitter. I'm not expecting them to, you know, get into trafficking. But I mean, they have the money to pay somebody a decent living wage in order to look after their little kids. I mean, not only that, but why is it such an issue for them to be sleeping in their own room? Like, for the kids, I mean. I know that I had my own room. I shared with my brother while he was a toddler up until the age of, I was about 8. And then after that, I got my own room. And, like, that was a huge deal for me. I freaking loved it. But I don't understand why they can't sleep on their own for, like, a holiday. Why is that such a big issue? And why are you expecting this person's friends to look after them as well? That is completely inappropriate. Imagine being invited along on a holiday with your friend and then you're told that you're supposed to look after some crappy little kids. Like, no wonder the friend felt embarrassed. Not only that, but I'm gonna call misogyny on this one. Like, this is the whole classic, the girls are meant to clean up the table after dinner while the boys can go and play. Why is it that 2 18-year-old girls are not only, you know, should look after some kids, but are expected to look after some kids, but a 16-year-old boy is a growing boy that needs his sleep? It's only 2 years difference, and I do think that it was definitely gender that influenced this. That they think, oh, because they're girls, they should be happy to look after the kids, which is absolutely ridiculous. That entitlement is just so wrong. I can't believe that they got crossed by the fact that the 2 girls wanted to sleep on the couch. Like, they're actually saying we're gonna forego a bed to sleep on the sofa to make things slightly more comfortable, and they're upset about that. The baby cannon should have definitely had their own crappy little kids in their own crappy little room. Like, this is just absolutely terrible. The fact that they're just expected to pawn them off onto the teenage girls is terrible. Oh, sorry if you heard all that noise, but the dustman decided to come round and, you know, sort out the bins, right, as I was recording that bit. But, oh, this is like r/entitled parents as well. I'm so proud that they were like, no, sod you, I'm not going to be on a holiday where I'm expected to work, and just left, and they weren't able to enjoy the boat. That was beautiful revenge. And all the family members that go, you should have done this, you should have done that, just get rid of them. They're not worth talking to anymore. Am I the bad guy for locking my wife out of my office because she won't stop bothering me? I have been studying for a very important test each night for the past few weeks. I usually wait until after dinner before I start, which is usually around 9 to 10 PM. And then I will work until 1 to 3 AM. It depends on how much work I get done. My wife usually doesn't go to bed until 11 PM, and at that time of night she likes to be close to me and cuddle, so she has been coming into my office and hanging out with me while I work. This was fine for a few days, but then it seemed like every night she would go from cuddling me to trying to make out with me and then have sex. More often than not, we would, and my schedule would suffer as a result. I asked her to not keep doing this because she knows it's hard for me to turn her down, and she promised she would stop, but she didn't, and the same pattern repeated itself. I have fallen behind my schedule now by a lot, and I've asked her to please not do this anymore as she is going to come into my office. She swore to me again she would not try to initiate, but she still did. I didn't know what else to do since talking to her failed, so tonight when I went into my office to study, I locked the door. When she tried to come in like she normally does and found out it was locked, she asked me to open the door and I refused. We had about a 45-minute conversation through the door before she finally went away in tears. I feel like the worst person in the world for making her so sad, but I don't know what else to do. She says she understands my issue and will do better, but she doesn't. I can't keep doing this for the next few months, so if she can't stop herself, the only solution I have is to lock her out. Am I the arse? So many red flags have popped up on this one for the wife's behaviour. So I had a little look into the comments, and this is the bar exam, which apparently is an incredibly difficult exam to do with law in the US. It's not something I'm particularly familiar with, but it is incredibly difficult, has a very low pass rate, and only like the top studious people can actually get through. So the OP studying and working hard so that he can pass this exam is incredibly important for him and for his, for his future. By trying to force her way into his office, the wife is kind of showing that she doesn't actually give a damn about his future, about his dreams, about what he wants to do with his life. She seems to think that her quick sexual satisfaction or physical satisfaction or whatever she's trying to get out of her husband is far more important than, what could potentially be beneficial if he does well in this exam. That kind of selfishness is a major red flag, but not only that, but she is ignoring consent. Now, this is what we really need to, address and take issue with. Because rape culture doesn't just happen with, somebody pressuring someone after a few drinks. It can happen in spousal situations, and it can happen with female or male. The husband in this situation has said that he is not wanting to engage in physical relations while he is studying for his exam, and she has blatantly ignored that and coerced him into sex anyway. As a result, his education is now suffering. This is seriously damaging because she says she understands, but then she just doesn't give a crap about his consent. This is a major red flag, and while he says that he still loves her and that there's, just intimacy issues that they need to work through, I would seriously be considering where they want to go in this situation, because if she shows that she doesn't care about this, especially when it's just for a few months, it's only going to be a temporary thing, and if he does well, then, you're both going to have a much better life at the end of it. But the fact that she doesn't care about his consent and his body autonomy, that's really bad. He had to physically lock her out to get her to stop. That's what mind boggles me. He had to lock her out. It isn't a case of he locked her out and she thought that was a bit extreme. It was a case of he had to lock her out or she was going to keep coming in and keep doing stuff that he didn't want, which is absolutely unacceptable. I'm in a similar situation where my partner will come into my workroom because, I'm working from home due to the pandemic. My partner will come into the room while I'm working and she will sit behind me and she will work. We will work at the same time. It's not a problem. Even so, no means no, and the fact that she didn't take no for an answer is really worrying. I feel really bad for this guy, and especially when she was crying and trying to guilt trip him just because he said no. Seriously, I just think that the wife is an awful person, especially as the way he wrote it, he's tried to write her in a good light so she doesn't seem as bad as she is. This is some major red flags popping up. Am I the arse for wanting to name my child uniquely? My girlfriend and I are expecting our first child in 3 months. I also have a stepson, and we have been discussing names for months. I first started with regular names, but I don't really want that. I brought up what I really want to name my son. Broly, my favourite character and a cool name. And my girl got pissed and will no longer have this discussion. I feel it's 2020 and we should move away from the Jackson Janes of the past. Am I the arse? Well, not if you want your kid to get bullied. I mean, it's like the various people that called their kid Daenerys or Khaleesi or... I mean, Jon Snow makes sense because, Jon Snow is an actual name. We have a news reporter called Jon Snow. Or when you have, a name spelt, like Michaela Mela, but it's pronounced, Jessica or something so silly. And yeah, I mean, Broly. Broly is really the best character. I'm sorry, I'm going to be a little bit judgy on that. Yeah, I mean, even if we're going to, like, take away the whole weeaboo side of it all and just look at the name Broly in general, it doesn't sound good. It sounds like a Chad, you know, like somebody trying too hard to be a bro. Like, I'm such a bro, I do my things all Broly. You know, I don't see it going well at all. Am I the arse for not letting my sister-in-law stay the night and saying she makes me uncomfortable? Am I the arse for being uncomfortable with my husband's relationship with sister-in-law? When we first got together, she acted like a jealous lover. She said I stole him from her. When we had kids, she wanted to move in with her mum, have me go to work, have her mum look after my children, I'm a stay-at-home mum, and her child, and live together as one big family, with my husband being the only male/husband/dad figure. Like a weird sister-wife situation. She has said many times she will never get married because no man will ever compare to my brother. She's 35 plus and single with a kid from over a decade ago. She has asked me how well endowed my husband was more than once. Once in the beginning of our relationship and then again years later. She has said things like, no wonder you want to have so many kids with him, he's so handsome, and talks about how attractive he is. She says things like, you really hit the husband jackpot. She would ask him for money to co-sign things and financially support her like a spouse. She spoon-feeds him food during meal/holiday times, which really creeps me out. She's just generally very overly touchy and affectionate for a 35-plus woman to be with her brother. To be completely honest, I would not be surprised if there was some experimenting when they were kids/younger. We have been married over a decade and have 5 kids, and I realised this way too late in the marriage. I started getting really uncomfortable with their relationship after she asked a comment about him being well endowed and saying she wanted to live with us basically as if my husband was her husband too. She's been causing a lot of issues for our marriage over the years due to her jealousy. I don't like her because of it. I've tried, but she always ends up pulling something crappy and causing World War III with the family. My husband and I got into a fight today over her coming to stay the night. She is up from another state and we're supposed to see her stay at his parents'. He wants her to stay the night at our place, but I told him I didn't want her and we already had plans for my mum to stay over. We did, because my husband was supposed to be away from work right now, but changed his schedule last minute, so now he's home. He wanted me to uninvite my mum so his sister could stay the night. I said it's weird that he's so fixated on his sister staying the night and that I'm uncomfortable with her staying because of the tension between us. He says I am a crappy wife and a crappy human because I don't like his family. Am I the arse for not wanting my sister-in-law to stay the night and for distancing myself and my kids from her? Edit to add info. She's not like this with any of her other brothers, just my husband. They have 2 more brothers and they aren't included in on the weirdness. Small update. He just got back from spending the day at his parents visiting her. She's coming to stay the night. At least my mum is here. I genuinely don't understand why anyone would have their adult sister stay the night. He's been a huge ass about it too. Another update. He came home while my mum was here. He started berating me, and my mum tried to act as a mediator. It ended up with me crying and not able to even talk through the sobs because he was saying horrible things about me. Basically repeated what he said before, crappy human, bad wife, kids like him more, will make sure I don't get much child support, etc. He makes around 200k a year and it goes up every year. He is insisting he won't pay more than 2k a month for 5 kids. Anyway, his sister showed up while all this was going down, so I excused myself and went to my room to cry. My mum and I went to grab some food and get out of the house and came back. He continued to say rude crap at me anytime his sister was out of earshot. Now he is falling asleep on the couch and his sister is falling asleep on the other couch. He was looking up child support costs. So, yeah, not going great. When I asked him why his sister is fixated on him and not his other brothers, he said, because I'm her real brother. Their other siblings are half-siblings, but they are all back-to-back in age and grew up in the same house, so it's weird. Gosh, there is a whole lot to unpack in this one. This is probably one of the creepier Am I the Plague Sores that I have read in quite some time. So everything I say is just 100% my opinion. I am not any kind of psychologist or, social worker or anything. I don't have any experience in relationship managing or anything like that. So everything I can say is just my thoughts, and it can be taken with a pinch of salt and definitely not taken as anything remotely professional. However, having said that, I mean, I hate to say it, and this just makes me cringe inside having to say it, but I think that they are sleeping together. I think that there is an incestuous relationship going on here, and the reason that I say that is because in the comments, OP was talking a little bit, and they mentioned that the mother of the the husband and the sister-in-law sort of let like this. Basically, she had a boyfriend that was a paedophile and, made excuses for him, let him do what he wanted. I reckon that trauma has probably stayed with the two of them, and they're probably only seeking comfort through... Yeah, I don't want to say it. Of course, that by no means is okay. It is merely offering an explanation rather than an excuse. I don't think OP is at all the plague saw in this situation. I would be incredibly uncomfortable if I were the partner here. And I think that anybody would be if, like, you basically saw your husband grinding up against his sister. It might freak you out a bit. I also think that the husband is being incredibly selfish. Like, he was calling OP all these horrible names, saying, "You just don't like my family," but then he wouldn't let her mother come over. Like, he wanted her to uninvite her mother, which had been planned before, so that his sister could come over. Which essentially means that he's saying that his family take priority over her family, which is ridiculous, If it was already set up, then the mother should come first. All the sexualized comments and stuff, yeah, I think that is definitely a red flag. It's got more red flags than freaking Russia during the Soviet Union. Also, the thing that really stood out to me was the fact that this guy doesn't seem to care about his kids either. He seems to be putting his sister in front of his kids. That he is saying that he's only going to give her a certain amount of child support. And the thing is that with child support, it's going to support the child. I'm sure that if he said, "Look, I'm going to be giving you this much, but I want every single penny of that to be spent on my kids," if you have extra, you spend it on something for them. I could definitely understand that, because then that would show at least some kind of parental responsibility. But instead he's going, "Oh, you're a horrible mother, you're horrible this, I'm leaving and I'm going away with my sister." I'm sorry, but the guy is shagging his sister. And he's gone into massive denial about it, and he's ultimately hurting his wife and kids. I feel really sorry for OP, and also their mother. Like, their mother was trying to mediate and try and make sure that the relationship was going okay, and then he just went forward and attacked. And also the kids. Because, I mean, imagine being a kid and knowing that your own dad is shagging his sister, because that's the situation going on here. This really sucks. And yeah, this was one of the stories that left a little bit of a nasty taste in my mouth. Well, that's it for this episode of r/Am I the Plague Sore? I would like to know, did you think that these people were as bad as they were judged to be? Did you agree with my judgment? Or did you think that there's more that we're not hearing from? I would love to hear what all of you think about these situations. And as I say at the end of every episode, if you would like to hear more from this subreddit or from any other subreddit, then do let me know in the comments. And until then, I'll see you all next time.